Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Fifer, served up by Wendy's on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Download the Wendy's app today.
Welcome in, see Sparky Fifer with you live from Rally House, Brookfield Square. Welcome in. How y'all doing? You see all the shirts behind me if you're watching us on YouTube, which is a pretty cool deal. And if you know anything about Rally House, and we've been out here before, we were at the Mayfair collection one the last time. This time we're at the Brookfield Square location here at Brookfield, Wisconsin. And Packers stuff, Badger stuff, Bucks stuff. I see little Ray Allen jerseys, bigger Ray Allen jerseys, all kinds of stuff that you can get here. Brewers stuff, you name it, they've got it. Check this out, Charlie. If you're watching on YouTube, check this out. They got the NLCS Brewers T-shirts You can get here as well, right? Isn't that pretty cool looking?
I was thinking about getting one of the hats. I really like all that design and stuff.
Yeah, you know, Josh Albrecht from the morning show, he was wearing one of those hats today, and I also said the same thing. That hat is sweet. So we've got those going on today. We also have our own T-shirts that we brought along with us as well. Not the Euchre Magic T-shirts, but we have the Relief Pitcher T-shirts as well out here. If you want to come grab one of those at Brookfield Square, Rally House will be out here throughout the day today up until 5 o'clock. Then from 5 until 7 o'clock, we will be at Camp Bar down in Milwaukee's 3rd Ward as we get ready for Game 2 tonight between the Brewers and the Dodgers. Tommy Wirtz will be there with the leadoff show powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook thanks to Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Tea. So I'll be here at Rally House at Brookfield Square from 2 until 5. And then while I'm here at Rally House, you have a chance to win a $250 Rally House gift card. But you got to come out here to have a chance to register to win the $250 Rally House gift card. Again, Rally House, Brookfield Square. Come stop by. Get yourself some NLCS shirts, hats, the whole deal. They're super cool. They're black and gold, and they are awesome. So definitely would recommend that as well. Okay, so lots to get to on today's show. If you want to participate in any show here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, you can simply by using the Nicolay Law Fan Talk and Text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Jason Hirschhorn, co-founder of the Elite Newsletter, joins us coming up at 2:20 today. Talk to him about the Green Bay Packers and get into something that was gotten into yesterday a little bit with Matt LaFleur, talking about the bleeding of the defense, I guess, a little bit in fourth quarters of games. So we'll get Jason Hirschhorn's thought on that. We'll get his thoughts on Jordan Morgan and how he looked in the game. He played over 80% of the snaps. It appears he's the new starting guard in place of Sean Ryan. So we'll get Jason's thoughts on that coming up right away in segment number 2. 3 o'clock hour. Pat Murphy, the Brewers manager, got into a conversation yesterday talking about the bullpen catcher and the role that the bullpen catcher plays and how he's kind of become like the caddy for the pitchers and so forth and how that all works. So I figured if bullpen catcher, I know a bullpen guy. I know a bullpen catcher for like 20 years in the Brewers organization. Marcus Hanel, former Brewers bullpen catcher, still lives in the area, obviously. He'll join us coming up at 3:20. And we'll get Marcus Hanel's thoughts on that bullpen catcher role and his thoughts on the Brewers to this point as we get ready for Game 2 coming up tonight. So you'll hear from Marcus Hanel coming up again at 3:20 here on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. I want to first start off talking about last night's game. And I'd love to tell you that we have like 7 or 8 offensive highlights to play. And, oh, man, wasn't it amazing and so forth. Well, that's not exactly what we have. Listen, I want to just put out there again what we talked about yesterday, okay? The first thing that we talked about yesterday was let's make sure from a Brewer standpoint that we take a lot of pitches. We need to get Blake Snell out of this game and into that bullpen by hopefully the 6th inning, right? But no later than 7th, but hopefully the 6th. That was the goal. Get him out of there by the 6th because of pitch count. I wasn't planning on seeing the Brewers score a ton of runs off of him. It would have been nice. But I definitely wanted him out of there because of pitch count. And the Brewers' approach to this game, in my opinion, was awful. Just absolutely awful. Listen, I get it, right? He throws strikes. I understand. Not every pitch is going to be a strike. He's going to throw pitches out of the strike zone. That is going to happen. Nobody is perfect. Get that pitch count up as much as possible. And they just didn't. You know the other thing that didn't really happen? Did they have anybody go 10 pitches in an at-bat at any point? I don't think so. I don't think a single hitter had a 10-pitch at-bat at any point where they're fouling pitches off 3, 4, 5 times. Just did not happen. They looked overmatched, right? And we're saying overmatched, and guy doesn't throw fastballs against the Brewers, right? So that wasn't how they were overmatched. It wasn't like Mizorowski overpowering you with a 104-mile-an-hour fastball. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the idea of him simply outthinking everybody and getting them to do what he wanted them to do and luring them in to playing his style. Instead of it trying to be the other way, it seemed like they were just kind of sitting, waiting for the fastball and hoping they would get a hold of one of those. And Snell pretty much went 8 innings without really using that fastball all that much, Charlie.
Yeah, he kind of just cruised this entire game. I'm looking through the play-by-play from yesterday. The Brewers had 1 8-pitch at-bat. That was their longest at-bat of the night. That was in the 4th inning from Jackson Churio. That was the longest one, and then William Contreras had a 6-pitch at-bat. That was the next longest one. I mean, it just felt like he was able to go out there and do whatever he wants. And if a pitcher is able to go out there and not have to use his fastball that often, that means he's doing whatever he wants. This means he's able to play around and toy with you. And he was. He was on fire the entire night. Some of those pitches I would have swung at too if I were the Milwaukee Brewers. It was so hard to lay off what he was doing. He was dealing, and the Brewers were just eating into it.
You know, the one thing about this is Jonathan Lucroy was wonderful last night on social media. Okay, absolutely wonderful. And I wanted to read this interchange between LaCroix and some of the people that he was going back and forth with. So LaCroix tweets out, the former Brewers catcher, Blake Snell is throwing one of the best games I've watched in a while. So much off speed and barely using his heater against a good fastball hitting team. Really well pitched game on his part. Solid game plan on his part. To which a question comes. Jonathan, he's gotten ahead with his change all night. How difficult is it to just eliminate anything but his change and just look to take hacks at it the other way? To which Lucroy says, as a hitter, you have to look up and try to see seams, maybe wrist tilt. I'm pretty sure he's throwing a 4-seam change, which makes it even harder since his fastball is a 4-seamer. And unless his wrist tilts some on the release point, it's extremely hard to pick up out of his hand. Looks just like a fastball. Lucroy continues, for me, I'd sell out the right side. And if I get jammed on a heater, then whatever. See the ball up and as deep as I could and then slap that change to right field. Easier said than done, though. That is the knowledge of Jonathan Lucroy, obviously, who was a very good Milwaukee Brewers player. But just listen to what he says. How many of you at home are like, I wonder if his wrist is tilting on the release when he throws the ball? How many of you at home are like, oh, it's a 4-seam change. Of course it is. And he's throwing a 4-seam fastball. Sure, of course it is. But that makes it so much more difficult to disseminate what the heck the pitch is coming at. This pitch isn't coming at 40 miles an hour. This baby's coming in there at 90-some miles an hour, 80-some miles an hour, Charlie, which makes it all the more difficult for these guys to get a read on what's coming at them.
Well, and especially when you're in an NLCS, you got over that hurdle that you've had for the past 5 seasons or so.
Right.
And you have all this adrenaline and energy pumping through you, and you really want to make something happen. And in a game where, again, a pitcher like Blake Snell, if you let him get going, he's just going to cruise that entire game. You are antsy like that, and you do try to jump on him. This is the kind of result that you can expect at least half the time. The other half of the time, yeah, maybe you'll get on him. You'll be able to get him out of the game in 2 innings like some of the teams have been able to do with the Brewers, like the Cubs did against Quinn Priester in that Game 3 in the NLDS. The Brewers have to go in with that approach, but then have to think about, you know what, we have to step back a little bit. And they just never did that in the game at all. They just kept going with that same approach, even when it wasn't working.
That's exactly correct. He is Charlie using Sparky Fifer with you. Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from Rally House, Brookfield Square Mall, Brookfield, Wisconsin, hanging out here. Your chance to win a $250 Rally House gift card. All you got to do is scan the QR code sitting here on the table where I'm broadcasting from, and you'll have that chance to win. Plus, again, they got all the new Brewers NLCS shirts out. The hats are out. The hats are sweet. All of it out here right on the table as you walk in. You cannot miss it. Come by your Brewers Championship apparel ahead of Game 2 tonight. Definitely take advantage of that. The question that we had for this first segment that I want to get your thoughts on, and anything else you'd like to talk about concerning this Brewers game from last night. Is there anyone you'd rather have at the plate in the final at bat with the bases loaded than Bryce Terang was last night? And if so, if there's somebody else other than Terang you'd rather have at the plate, who else would it be? Nicolay Law Fan Talk, text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Trell, north side of Milwaukee, you're first up on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. What's up, Trell?
Hey, Sparky. Hey,
how you doing?
I just wanted to tell you, I heard you yesterday on the radio saying, hey, I don't care what happens this series. Long as the Brewers beat the Cubs, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I could 1,000% disagree. That's the reason why we have never won an NLCS or World Series. We cannot have that attitude. Listen, we swept this team during the season. I know it's the postseason. That game last night, I'm fine with that game. Do I like the outcome?
They didn't see Snell. In those 6 games, they never saw Snell. So this was the first time they saw him this year.
Yeah, I'm fine with that game. He pitched a hell of a game. I watched that game. Were there some things they could have strategically did a little different? Maybe so. But that's kind of in the heat of the battle with a guy on like that, and he's not just been on this game. He was on against the Phillies too. So I'm fine with that. My thing is that with Uribe, you can't walk that guy when bases loaded. That's the only thing I would say if I could get back. You cannot walk that guy when you intentionally walk Ohtani. You can't walk the next guy up. You know you got to get that guy out, at least get him to hit the ball and play. But the only things the Brewers have to do, and I would say Jackson Churio is the guy to answer your question. That's the guy, but I would want up. I don't care if he is in a funk. What a lot of the Brewers staff is in right now. The Brewers have to win tonight. That's the number one thing. Then, because Major League Baseball, I don't know if this is a first-time thing or maybe it's the first time I've noticed, they've got the 2-3-2. The Brewers have to win 1 in 3 games, at least 1 in 3 games in L.A. And they're automatically getting a chance to come back home to defend turf. And hopefully throughout these next games, the bats get back. They get back to hitting collectively again. If that happens, the Brewers will be fine. Not worried about it. And if they see Blake Snell again, I don't think he's going to be like this. That's the only thing I'll say.
I agree with you. I think if they get Blake Snell again, after having seen him one time, I think it will be probably a different outcome. They may still lose, but I don't think he's going to run them the way he did. Thanks for the call, Trell. I appreciate it. I think it will be much different the second time around. My answer to the question that we're asking right now, and again, you can jump aboard Nicolay Law Fan Talking text line as well. Is there anyone you'd rather have at the plate in that final at bat than Bryce Terang? And if so, who else would it possibly be? 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. I highly suggest just saving that number in your phone so you can always call up and participate on any of our shows that you hear here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. I think I speak on behalf of everybody. Most of us would rather talk to people on the phone versus any other way of communication just because it's a lot more fun. We can go back and forth, have some give and take. Always enjoy that. I know a lot of people like text messages, and obviously we'll read text messages as well, or social media and so forth. My guy that I think I'd rather have up there at this point of everybody on this team is Jake Bauers. Jake Bauers is the guy I'd rather have up than anybody else on this roster in that moment in time with the bases loaded. Like, I am 1,000% in on Jake Bauers possibly being the most clutch hitter on this baseball team at this point. Like, I don't even really know how it's even arguable at this point how many times this dude has come up clutch. I don't care what his numbers look like throughout the course of the year. I don't care how disappointing he's been in some people's minds or whatever y'all think of Jake Bauers. But, dude, he is legit, right? So, Jake Bauers, absolutely. Like, that is the guy I'd rather have up. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Let's see what happens. Bauers is my guy to deliver in that situation. I'm good with Churio. I'm good with Yelich. Rest of these guys, I'm fine with all of them. Sal Frelick, I'm fine with all these guys, right? Bryce Terang, I'm fine there too. The nonsense, the complete and utter nonsense of some of you going after Bryce Terang because he didn't wear a pitch going about 90 miles an hour is absolute insanity. Tell you what, there's a great place for those of you that live in the Milwaukee area, but you can do this at any batting cage. You can go into a batting cage, right? Let's say Burkhart's. They have indoor batting cages over here in southeastern Wisconsin. Go over there and set it to 70, I believe is the highest it gets. That's the highest it gets, 70. And then walk in front of the plate and take it at 70, not 90, 70. Tell me, feel good? You in? You in? You want to sacrifice your knee at 70 miles an hour? Tell me what happens with your knee after the ball hits it at 90. And that is, those are rubber. Those aren't even real baseballs that you're hitting at that point, right? That don't feel good. Now you're trying to tell me that a professional baseball player who gets paid to get singles and doubles and triples and home runs and walks and all of that is in a moment in time, which could be the biggest moment of his career at that point in Bryce Terang, because he's a young player, right? You have a chance to win game one of the NLCS in front of your home fans at American Family Field. And the dude jumps out of the way of the pitch. And after he does it, looks in the dugout like, damn, I probably should have taken that. But the human reaction is to get out of the way of the pitch, right? That's the human reaction. So I'm not going to be mad at Bryce Terang for not wearing a pitch. Absolutely not. No, I wouldn't want that. First of all, let's say he wears the pitch. What happens if he gets hurt from wearing the pitch and then you're without him the rest of the postseason because he does damage to his knee or wherever he would have got hit? And now he's not at shortstop and now it's Monasterio. Oh, goody. Now let's look at what the rest of the NLCS looks like. I'm not in that camp of wear the pitch. I wasn't last night. I'm still not after sleeping on it. That's first point. Second point, if you want to be mad at Terang about swinging at that horrible pitch up in the zone, way above the zone at like eye level, that fastball, by all means, be mad at Bryce Terang for swinging at a pitch out of the zone. That I have no issue with. Being mad at him for not getting out of the way, no, I'm not there on that one. Johnny, north side of Milwaukee, you're next on the Nicolay Law Fan Talk and Text Line here in Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. What's up, Johnny?
What's going on? How you guys feeling this afternoon?
Doing good, man. Well, you coming out to Brookfield Square, man? We got a chance to win a $250 Rally House gift card out here at Rally House. You got to come out here.
I'm on vacation. I actually could. I'm actually just literally inside the Potawatomi to put a couple, shekels. I watched the game down here yesterday.
Oh, Johnny, you're at the sports book. You gotta go get one of those. Johnny, you gotta go get one of those John Kuhn platters at the Potawatomi Sportsbook and tell me if you can finish it, because I can't.
I may, you know what? I think I'm going to do that. I don't never get the time to. I'm on vacation until November. I may just go ahead and try that.
You go do it. You call me back tomorrow and let me know what you think of it.
Oh, most definitely, because I'm going to watch the game there today. So
good.
Yeah. I'm going to make three quick things. One, I'm 100% behind you. I ask anybody, you can have a 2025 Lexus, and if a deer shoots out of the woods, the known reaction, they say the factual reaction is to hit the deer. Don't swerve. Hit the deer. It's safer to hit the deer, but your reaction always is to swerve. That's why bad accidents happen. The same thing with this baseball. Your natural reflexes kick in. I don't blame Terang at all. I say, man, I will say maybe, from here on out, though, Murphy has something similar to situational football, situational baseball. Hey, we need you to take one for the team. Still easier said than done, but that's the only, thing that I could think of to soften that blow. Like, well, maybe, next time coming, hey, we may, put some padding on. I don't know. You should take the hit if it's there. That's just a thought I've been having. But I'm 100% behind Bryce Terang and don't blame him at all for moving out the way of the ball. Like, You crazy. That thing, that's the most dangerous part of baseball to me, is that baseball coming at you at a high speed and you telling me just stay there. And no, that's crazy. That's the first one. Second one is we down, we not out. This was going to be a tall task no matter what we did, no matter who's out there, no matter who's pitching for Dodgers or any. It's still going to be. It was going to be a rough series, and we know we were fighting an uphill battle. But I'll be danged if I sit and lay down and say, "Oh yeah, they're the best. They should win." No, I feel like the Brewers can and should win, but I subtract no points if we don't. But yeah, I'm with the guy that just called Travis or whatever, and yeah, I like to win. And I got the firm belief that we will win. And then 3, to answer your question, I'm a big Sal Freely fan. He puts contact to that bat. I think them bases loaded. He gets one of them little dunker dink little balls to get there right where nobody's at. He just has that knack. I've been looking for a Brewers jersey to get something I won't see it being people in. I think it's going to be Sal. I like Sal a lot. But
I'm down with
yeah,
that, Johnny. I'm down with. I think I like the Sal Freelick thing. Good luck at the sports book. Tell me what you think of the John Kuhn platter at the Potawatomi Sportsbook Kitchen tomorrow. There's Johnny on the north side, Nicolay Law fan talking text line. Let's go to Chuck on the south side of Milwaukee, joining us on the Nicolay Law talk and text line. Chuck, how we doing? Bases loaded, Terang is up. Would you rather have somebody else up at the plate in that situation than Bryce Terang? And if so, who would it be?
Yeah, it was the guy in front of him, the catcher.
Well, sure. Yeah, Contreras. Yeah. I was hoping Contreras was going to deliver too. Yeah.
Yeah, I was hoping he'd get a hit. I didn't want him to walk because I knew Terrain was going to be coming up next, and he hasn't really done anything at that one homer for the series. And I was hoping, and as soon as he walked, I said, "This guy's going to make out," And the last pitch, I don't know if you saw that, was head high. He had that.
Yeah, it was eye level.
At that.
Yeah,
and he could have walked.
It was a bad. Yeah,
he was walking everybody in the ninth inning, and they could have. What the saying is, they could have stole that game from the Dodgers.
Yes,
they really could have stole that game.
But Chuck, that's the thing. That's why it was so key to get in that bullpen earlier than the ninth inning. Chuck, thanks for the call. I got a text message coming in here. Andy in Brookfield in the 414. The Brewers took the first pitch on almost every at bat, and almost every single one of them was a strike, which made it very hard for them to start working the count. I just wish they could have started fouling off a few more pitches after that. Again, that goes back to what we were saying earlier. They did not get into those battles that you've seen the Brewers have so many times where you're fouling off 9, 10, 11 pitches in a count and really driving a pitcher's count up. And instead of being out of an inning at 15 pitches, one at bat gets you 10 or 11 pitches and drives up that pitch count maybe to 20 or more in that inning. That's what they were really needing last night against Blake Snell, and they simply did not get it. Coming up next, so we'll switch gears. We'll go to the Green Bay Packers, and we'll be joined by Jason Hirschhorn, co-founder of the Leap newsletter. We'll talk more about this Packers' latest victory against the Bengals. Have questions on him concerning Jordan Morgan and the game that he had there. And what about this defense giving up points in second half, specifically fourth quarters? That's coming up next. Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Live here at the Rally House in Brookfield Square in Brookfield, Wisconsin. Stop by, sign up, have a chance to win a $250 Rally House gift card, NLCS gear here on the table, shirts, hats, the whole deal. Coming out before the game tonight. Man, it's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios. See Sparky Fifer with you. Charlie Usen producing the show back there. And we are at Rally House, Brookfield Square Mall. People taking advantage, scanning that QR code. Your chance to win a $250 Rally House gift card right now. All you got to do is come up to the table where we're broadcasting from, scan the QR code, have a chance to win that $250 gift card. And like I was talking to people that were just here, man, it is great. You can win that $250 gift card. You can use that to start shopping for the holidays coming up, right? I mean, it's October. Holidays will be coming up here in the next couple of months. And who wouldn't want maybe an NLCS Brewer shirt or a hat or some Packers or Bucks swag that's out here at Rally House? And I'm telling you, all ages, man. Like I'm looking at onesies across from me with Brewers logos all over them on onesies. So does not matter how old you are, how old your children are. They have got something for everybody out here at Rally House, a very big store out here at the Brookfield Square Mall that you could definitely want to come out here and check out. Joining us coming up here shortly, I believe is going to be Jason Hirschhorn, co-founder of The Leap. There he is joining us on the fan guest hotline powered by the Gruber Law. He is the one and only Jason Hirschhorn. Follow him on Twitter as well, and follow The Leap newsletter on Twitter at The Leap GB. And you can follow him at by_JBH, by BY_JBH. Jason, thanks for coming on, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm impressed by all of the various, social media handles you're able just to rattle off that way.
We just keep rolling, Jason. We just keep rolling. When I go to sleep at night, I think of all the social media handles that I said earlier that day. And yeah, at some point you get to memorizing them, which is good, especially the people that I like you. Okay, so first things first, let's talk about the defense, because this was a topic talked about yesterday, and the idea of this thing bleeding out here for Packers defenses in second half of games, and specifically fourth quarter of games at this point. What do you see as the biggest issue with this Jeff Hafley defense as far as what's happening at the end of games? I was at that Packer-Bengals game this weekend. That first half, they were great. And then in the second half, the talented wide receivers with Joe Flacco kind of started eating them alive a little bit with the quick passing game.
So it's a multifaceted answer here. And I think it's important to say here, it's not that the defense is a problem. Like relative to the rest of the league,
right,
this is a good unit. It enters week 7, not just top 5 in DVOA and a lot of the other advanced metrics, but like top 1 or top 2, depending on where you look. And some of that is involving, the first few weeks when they were especially dominant, but they were still very good this past week. Now, you mentioned in the second half, things got a little dicier for them, but this is where the context comes in. They are trying to avoid, especially in that fourth quarter, the explosive play that puts the Bengals on the scoreboard fast, because, the Bengals were in a position where if they scored, but they took a lot of time to do it, it's not the end of the world because you're playing really the clock at that point, not the opponent.
Right.
And that's part of the reason why the Packers were able to approach that way. And you also look at how they scored. That Jamar Chase touchdown was truly impressive. Like that was a well-covered play. And one of the best, not just receivers in the league, one of the best players, period, in the league, makes a tremendous play. That's something that almost any defense is going to have happen to them when they're playing a player like Jamar Chase. So I think all of that context is important. There are some areas of concern, though. Now, some of these I don't think are going to be concerns for, the duration of the season, depending on what happens on the injury report. But you can tell that they are missing not just Devontae Wyatt, but they're missing the amount of quality bodies along that interior. With Wyatt out, they really ramped up the snap total for Karl Brooks. He played more, as a percentage of defensive snaps. He played more in this past week than Wyatt played in any single game this season.
Oh.
Now that's in part because he had to, right? Like Wyatt's out, you lose Lucas Van Ness during the game, and he's primarily playing on the edge, but he is moving around. He does play along the interior as well. And suddenly it's like, okay, well, you only have so many healthy bodies. Someone has to pick up the slack, and that ended up being Karl Brooks. And as you get later in the game, those 300-plus players wear down. That, I think, is a big part of this, too.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely correct. But the other part of this, too, is when you have to play Karl Brooks that much, he's undersized to begin with, right? And nobody ever is going to bring up Slayton being gone. But that was a big deal in the offseason as far as how do you replace that big body on the defensive line. Before you had Slayton and Devontae Wyatt that you can rotate in. Now you have literally one big body is this going to be a possible talking point about roster construction and what Brian Gutekunst did in the offseason for the remainder of the season, Jason Hirschhorn?
It's going to depend really on what they get out of those rookie defensive tackles. So TJ Slayton did not get a huge contract, but you can understand why the Packers, knowing what they were eventually going to have to pay, not just in terms of their own players this year, but in the upcoming season, just in terms of like those rookie contracts that are expiring, you can understand why they didn't want to spend on a guy who's primarily a run-stopping tackle. Those players have value,
right,
but you still have to make decisions and compromises somewhere, and that's the kind of player you can usually find later in the draft and in undrafted free agency, and the Packers did both of those this year. Now, to date, those contributions have not been major. You know, Nazir Stackhouse, kind of the one-for-one body type that they were expecting to come in and replace at least some of what TJ Slayton gave them, has not played well. Just flat out has not played well. And the more he's had to play in any particular game, his performance has dipped. Now, he's a rookie. That can change. And, you know, rookie defensive linemen in particular are on like a steep learning curve. But that matters. When you're expecting him to play some snaps and more snaps now with Wyatt being out, that's going to matter. Now, there's a little bit of positive here because Warren Brinson, who was literally inactive for every single game the Packers played prior to the bye, finally suited up this past weekend, played pretty well. Now, limited snaps. You don't want to make too much out of one performance against what is, you know, pretty objectively one of the worst offensive lines in football, but that's still a positive for a rookie, right? Like if Warren Brinson can be a contributor, even if it's only a rotational piece kind of contribution, that can help them this season. But it ends up being a blip on the radar. If Warren Brinson ends up being like a lot of late round defensive linemen and Nazir Stackhouse doesn't improve his play, you know, that decision to let TJ Slayton go in what is a Super Bowl contention window is going to be questioned.
And of course, Georgia, right? That's where we like drafting our defenders from, Georgia. Both of those guys from that lovely university. John with Jason B. Hirschhorn here on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Jason, let's talk a little bit about the offensive line play, specifically Jordan Love. Matt LaFleur must have fell and hit his head and woke up and realized what he'd been doing with Jordan Morgan was wrong. Could have told him that last year, as far as trying to play him at 5 different positions all at once and completely getting everything all muddled up. So last week, apparently, Matt LaFleur decided, you know what, we're just going to practice him at guard. And if we need a tackle, so be it. It's not going to be him. He's just going to stay here at guard, which is exactly what they should have done to begin with. And I'm not saying guard is his position or tackle is his position, but just figure out one and let the guy work there all week in practice and then see what happens. They did that. He ends up playing over 80% of the snaps over Sean Ryan in this game, and it looks like he's the new starting guard. Now, there has been debate since this man was drafted as far as whether or not he really is a left tackle in this league or what he is. Everybody that I have talked to over the last year, nobody thinks he's a guard in this league. Everybody thinks his only shot is playing tackle. You saw him against the Bengals. How'd he look?
Well, first, I want to co-sign everything you said in the windup there. And I think Matt LaFleur has kind of hinted that this was coming. Like before they went to the bye, he said in one of his press conferences that they had been unfair to Jordan Morgan, asking him to cover so many different spots. And, you know, he's not a rookie, but he's still a very young player. He didn't get to play most of his rookie year due to that shoulder injury. And they clearly determined that whether it was a tackle or a guard, whatever, that they need to really concentrate him in one spot so he can finally find his footing. And then if he moves around after that, so be it, but at least get him to that point first. I thought he played very well at right guard. Was not perfect, but in the run game in particular, you saw the holes he was able to open up, especially when they're running those duo concepts where they double up the offensive lineman and some of the defenders there. That big Josh Jacobs run where he goes essentially untouched for whatever it was, like 12 yards. That was in large part because of the giant hole that Jordan Morgan was able to open there. So I think there's a lot there to like. The pass protection for all of those guys, not just Jordan Morgan, does still need to improve, but it was a step, the Bengals game, in the right direction. And if Morgan gets not just more time to play at right guard, more time just to focus on one position, I think you're going to see that he's a quality starter. You know, what he is beyond that, we'll have to see. But that's a significant improvement over what they were getting out of Sean Ryan. Sean Ryan was, you know, kind of quietly one of the worst offensive line stars in the league. Just the Packers were so injured along the line, they couldn't do anything about it. Now that Tom is back, now that Aaron Banks is back, and pretty soon they think they're going to get Anthony Belton back, they can start making some of these judgments. And right now it looks like Sean Ryan is going to go to swing guard duty.
I will say this. I am so confused on what they're doing on the offensive line. I'm just going to be straight up here. I'm beyond confused. So I don't think Rasheed Walker stinks. I didn't think he stunk last year. But they clearly decided they're done with Rasheed Walker after this year by not giving him an extension, and he's going to have to play it out this year and then go find free agency. Okay, fine. We have not seen Jordan Morgan really at left tackle at all at any point. But again, it feels like they're convinced that that's going to be their left tackle going forward. Okay, fine. I guess we'll see what happens. You paid a ton of money to a guard that can't stay on the football field to this point. Now, when I read up on Banks after they signed Banks from the Niners, it was, well, he really doesn't fit the Niners scheme, but he could fit more of a scheme like Green Bay has. Sounds good. But when you were putting this offensive line together and you draft Belton, what was everybody thinking, including me? They're going to try and be Philly. They're just going to try and get a bunch of beefy dudes up front and try and push people out of the way and run this football with Josh Jacobs and do that. Now I'm sitting here trying to convince myself of, okay, so what does it really look like next year? Is it Morgan at left tackle, Banks at left guard, Elton Jenkins at center, providing he's not happy and holds out or something. Then right guard. Do they move Tom inside a guard and let Belton play right tackle? Does Belton go to right guard? Like, what does this eventually end up looking like? Because we had all that Zach Tom talk a couple of years ago about he's going to be a Hall of Fame center, according to somebody in that front office, and so forth. I am so confused on what the future of this line looks like.
Well, part of this is the way they tend to construct these things. Like, if they feel like they have 4 to 5 guys who can play at least 2 different spots, then they don't worry too much about the construction in the offseason. They let those things play out. And there's merit to that, right? Like the past however many games that they played, when multiple starters were down, they were still able to cover themselves reasonably well. So you can understand why they do it, but there's a downside to it too. And you were hinting at it. It's, what does this look like long-term? Now, the one possibility you did not mention, which I think is on the table if we assume that Rasheed Walker is not back in Green Bay in 2026 and kind of independent of whether Elton Jenkins is back or not, I think Zach Tom might end up being the starting left tackle week 1 of the 2026 season.
No, come on. You really
look
think
at the
so?
body types that they have and where they position these guys. If Morgan ends up holding onto that right guard job for the rest of this year, it doesn't mean they couldn't move him again, obviously, but they might decide, we kind of got a good thing going here with Morgan at guard, and he has the flexibility to kick out a tackle if there's an injury. Maybe we just leave him there. That leaves you with Tom, who can play a variety of positions, but has most of his experience at tackle. You have Belton, who will be going to year 2, and can probably play guard, but basically all of his reps have been at left and mostly right tackle. Well, Belton could be your right tackle in that scenario. Tom moves over to the blind side, and you kind of just set and forget it from there. You still have to figure out what you're going to do with Jenkins in that scenario, but that might be the way it plays out. But to your point, I don't think that they know right now what that offensive line is going to look like in 2026. And that's just part of their process. They go into almost every year with at least one of those spots kind of open. And every year there's a possibility of some guy shifting around to cover whatever the deficiencies are. It's just kind of the way it goes in Green Bay.
He is Jason Hirschhorn joining us here on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's out here at Rally House, Brookfield Square in Brookfield, Wisconsin. Come on out, your chance to win a $250 Rally House gift card. Get yourself some Packer stuff out here, all kinds of Brewers playoff stuff, including the new LCS shirts and LCS hats that are amazing that you're going to check out too. So make sure to stop out here and do that. Jason, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on, and make sure to follow him on Twitter at @buy_JBH. What's the latest on the newsletter?
Well, we have a new story out today talking about how even though the Bengals game was an imperfect performance by the Packers, there were positive developments for that offense in terms of them reclaiming their deep shot identity. There's one particular concept, I won't spoil the whole piece here, that the Packers used to call over 3 times a game on average in 2024, and it only called 3 times in total by the time they reached the bye. That concept showed up 4+ times against the Bengals, and it's part of a wider change that we're seeing related to the health of that offensive line, Matt LaFleur's trust in that offense as a whole, and maybe how he feels about Jordan Love moving forward.
That's awesome. Jason, thanks so much for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
All right, take care, Sparky.
There he is, Jason Hirschhorn, again, joining us here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law, One call, that's all. And let me tell you about my fine friends over there at Wendy's. Mornings can all start to feel the same. So if you're looking for a fresh wake-up call, look no further than Wendy's breakfast. Try a breakfast Baconator with fresh cracked eggs, a crispy bacon, a grilled sausage breakfast burrito, or maybe even a honey buddy. Don't even think about sleeping on Wendy's seasoned potatoes and English muffin sandwiches. Doesn't matter where you go. It's going to change your life. All right, well, it's at least going to freshen up your morning. Ready for a fresh wake-up call? It's got to be Wendy's. We change gears. We go back to the Milwaukee Brewers last night. And was this dominant effort by Blake Snell more about Blake Snell, or was this more about the Brewers' bats going quiet in a big postseason game? We'll discuss that straight ahead. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky with you. Welcome in, Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Live from here at Rally House, Brookfield Square. Come stop out. Your chance to win a $250 Rally House gift card. I mean, come on, man. A $250 Rally House gift card. What can you do with that for holiday shopping, right? I mean, I know myself, I could use a $250 Rally House gift card for my holiday shopping. And think about all the stuff they got here. You got all this Brewers apparel here, NLSCS T-shirts that you can get. The hats are sweet. Not to say the shirts aren't, but the hats are my favorite of all of them. Plus, they got like October baseball shirts for the Brewers. Brewers built for fall T-shirts I'm looking at here. They got all sizes. They got onesie. They got all kinds of stuff for the little kids. Not to mention Brewers, if you're more of a Packer fan, like whole half side of the store is pretty much Packer stuff, all kinds of Badgers apparel. I'm not really sure how much you're into wearing Badgers apparel at this point with this football team, but if you're still about that, you can do that too here at Rally House.
A little bit, you know.
Not yet. Not yet. And I don't see Fire Fickle T-shirts out here at Rally House yet either, but maybe at some point we'll get the Fire Fickle
eventually. Yeah.
Yeah, Fickle. Ooh, that's ugly. So again, Brookfield Square, Rally House in Brookfield, Wisconsin. Come stop out here to 5 o'clock. And your chance to win that $250 Rally House gift card. Plus, we have our relief pitcher shirts out here as well if you're interested in one of those. Got the pop sockets, got the bags, all kinds of stuff. Stop out here and do that. The other part, too, is coming up from 5 to 7. You can catch Tommy Wirtz with the leadoff show powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. He's at Camp Bar in Milwaukee's 3rd Ward. Stop by, see him with the leadoff show powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Get you the lineups for the game. We'll hear from Pat Murphy. Hear from everybody from before the game today, and he'll have guests on through his show, too, from 5 until 7 coming up later this afternoon. Stay tuned for that. I want to talk about that Brewers game coming up tonight after talking about the Packers there in the last segment. Was last night more about the Brewers' bats, or was it more about a great pitching performance by Blake Snell? Nicolay Lawfan talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250, and got all kinds of different text messages that have been flying in here throughout Wisconsin Sports Daily here today. And one plays right into the question that we have from the 262. Did anyone realize that taking an opposite field approach versus that changeup was the better idea? They were still swinging out of their shoes, although they were not close to the pitches. 12-year-old club ball starts working on that approach, yet we remain clueless for 8 innings. Well, 262, I actually read some Jonathan LaCroix tweets, the former Brewers catcher from earlier in the show. He also said the exact same thing, that if it was him in that batter's box, he'd be focused on hitting everything to the right side. If he gets jammed, he'll live with it. But for the most part, that was going to be his approach facing Blake Snell. Now, he also tipped his hat to Blake Snell and said, hey, man, this dude's been unbelievable. I mean, this is a fastball-loving hitting team in the Milwaukee Brewers, and Blake Snell gave them very few fastballs to feast on during that game and kept the Brewers off balance during this game. So is it the bats? Is it Blake Snell? It's game 1. I will tell you, I may change my opinion of this whole thing if by game 3 we're averaging a run a game for the Brewers. But as of right now, I'm going to say that was just a great pitching performance from probably a future Hall of Famer in Blake Snell. That was a great deal by them. But again, going forward with this Dodger starting pitching, you must get into their bullpen as soon as possible. You get in their bullpen by the 6th inning, you're going to score runs on that bullpen probably every night. That's what you have to do. Sasaki was the closer. That's done probably after last night. I doubt they try that again because he just didn't have his control. He looked like Sasaki, the starting pitcher that we saw earlier in the year when he was with the Dodgers, if you remember. And then Sasaki got hurt and then was gone a good part of the year. He comes back, and it's towards the end of the season, so they put him in the bullpen because at that point, all of their starting pitchers were healthy by that point, so they didn't need him to be in the starting rotation. So we'll see how this goes. But again, I just think the key to tonight in every game in this series is get to that bullpen as soon as possible. We'll talk more about Freddie Peralta and what this is going to look like for him going into game 2 tonight and the pressure on him. And is this a must-win game tonight? It's only game 2 of a 7-game series, but is it a must-win game tonight? Plus, we'll talk with Marcus Handel, former Brewers bullpen catchers. Pat Murphy was talking about bullpen catchers yesterday. We'll get him on coming up at 3:20 to talk about that role in an organization and what his thoughts on this Brewers series. That's all coming up on Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Again, Don't forget, Sports Talk on the Wisconsin Radio Network, Sports Radio Networks, presented by Paramount Plus. Got on Sundays all season long with NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.